Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom. It's your brother Eli with TheServants. To my left, I got
Uncut.
And to my right,
Brother Support.
we coming back at you with another Shabbat service, another exhortation, going into some history, cut down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And today's topic of Shabbat service is going to be the repetitive sin of the ancient idolatry. The repetitive sin of the ancient idolatry. So Lord willing, you know what I'm saying, we're going to try to skim through this. I pray it be edifying. And you know what I'm saying, it edifies the spirit and help people grow in the history where we can see where our downfall and what we constantly have as a stumbling block as a nation of people, all right? So every Shabbat, we try to start off with this precept, so give me that, King.
This is the book of Luke, chapter 4, verse 14. It says, "And Yahweh shall return in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. And there went out a fame of him through all the region round about."
Read.
Verse 15. "And he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all."
So every Shabbat, Yahweh shall talk in the synagogue. So he was being glorified because why he was showing them the prophecy of himself. Read.
Verse 16. "And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up.
Read.
And as his custom was,"
As his what?
As his custom was,
Right.
He went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for it to read.
So we try to follow or pattern ourselves after Yahweh. His custom was every Shabbat he went into the synagogue, and you know, in this modern day time, this is what we consider to be a school or a place of learning. So that's what we're doing here. Every Shabbat we try to come in and bring out edification. So today's portion of it is going to be so far going into history. What was the beginning and the middle cause, and what will be the end of this sin that we can't seem to get rid of, all right? So without further ado, we're going to get into it. Let's crack it off with the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12. And then let's go to the book of, I want somebody else to give me Wisdom of Solomon 13 and 1. But give me Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 12 first. 13 and 1. Matter of fact, yeah, go ahead. Give me Wisdom of Solomon 14 and 12.
Come on.
And then get Psalms 102, 18. And with Romans 15 and 4.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 12.
Read.
For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication."
So the very first fornication that took place in the Bible, it was identified as idolatry, right? Read that part again.
Come on. "For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication, and the invention of them that corruption of life."
And the invention of idols was the corruption of life, meaning when a person created idols and set them forth into the world, it become a corrupt thing amongst people. Give me verse 27.
Come on, verse 27. "For the worshiping of idols not to be named."
Not to be what?
Not to be named.
Because why? There are many idols in the world being worshipped today. So he said the beginning of idols, meaning the beginning of idolatry, not to be named, because it's a plethora of idols that's being worshipped on the earth today. Read.
It's the beginning.
It's the what?
It's the beginning.
So in the beginning of the Bible, that was the first major sin. Read.
"The cause and the end of all evil."
And that will be the end of all evil. So once our people learn to overcome idolatry, that will be the end of all evil, right? Give me that in Psalms 102, 18.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 102 and verse 18. "This shall be written for the generation to come."
He said what?
"This shall be written for the generation to come."
So the Lord said these things that we are reading about in the scriptures shall be written for the generation to come. Who is he talking about? He's talking about us, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans of Negro descent. So the things that we're going to learn today was written for us to come in this generation that we're living in today. Give me Romans 15 and 4.
This is the book of Romans. This is the book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4.
Yep.
"For whatsoever things were written aforetime
Right.
were written for our learning."
So the Lord said, whatever the things that was written in this Bible in the past times were written for our learning. You know what I'm saying? Where does the stumbling block of my people kick in at? What things constantly cause us to get plagued by God? And we're going to read about these things today. Read.
that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
So by reading these things, we got faith that through the Lord we'll have hope, and meaning what? Overcoming these things. And what's the main subject at hand today is idolatry. We can overcome the spirit of idolatry. So now give me Wisdom of Solomon 13, and we're going to start at verse 1. And then I want another brother to give me the book of Romans chapter 1, verse 21.
Come on.
Wisdom of Solomon. Go on, get the Wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 13, you get Romans 1. Mm-hmm. So this is the thing we're getting into today, man. We're going to dive into this idolatry, man. We're going to the rooty, all the way to the tooty. And Lord willing, you know what I'm saying, we remove this idolatry from the minds of our people, man. Because when you look at the world today, when you look at Babylon the Great, this land is full of idolatry. You know what I'm saying? They got variety of idols here that you can worship. You know what I'm saying? You just pick your poison and they'll let you walk straight in there, right? Read what you got.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon 13 from the top.
Right.
Surely vain are all men by nature.
So the Lord says, surely vain, or another word for vain is foolish. So surely foolish are all men by nature. We are naturally born foolish, read.
Who are ignorant of good.
Who are what?
So like it. Who are ignorant of God.
Read that from the beginning again.
Surely vain are all men of nature, who are ignorant of God, and could not out of the good things that are seen now know him that is.
They could. Why could they not? Hold this. Give me 2 Ezra 4 and 30. So I'm going to show you why that scripture says, surely vain are all men by nature. So that means you can't help it. A lot of us are born foolish by nature. We can't help ourselves. So let's see why. Let's read that real quick. 2 Ezra 4 and verse 30.
This the book of 2 Ezra chapter 4 and verse 30. For the gain of evil seed.
For the grain of an evil seed, read.
For the grain of an evil seed have been sown in the heart of Adam from the beginning.
Read.
And how much ungodliness have it brought up unto this time.
So the Lord said, so the Bible said it was an evil grain, a grain of an evil seed that was sown in Adam. So how much more worse is that grain grew in this generation of time? We have populated and populated and populated. So in the process of time, if he created a small grain to be sown in Adam's mind, how big do you think that seed have grown through the children of Adam, right? Read.
And how much shall it yet bring forth unto the time of threshing?
Read.
Come, ponder now by thyself how great fruit of wickedness the grain of evil seed have brought forth.
And this is what we just spoke on. You got to ponder at the fact of if it was a grain that started with Adam, think about how much more sin and wickedness is grown into the world now. So now let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon 13.
Come on.
Read that. Start back at verse 1.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13 and verse 1.
Right?
Surely vain are all men by nature.
So surely all men are vain by nature. They're wicked. They're foolish by nature. Why? Because the seed started with Adam. That's why I pulled that precept to show you where the beginning of it is and why we are naturally foolish and vain. Read on.
Who are ignorant of God and could not out of the good things that are seen know him that is.
Read.
Neither by considering the works did they acknowledge the workman.
So now what he's going into, he's going into the heathen, the people who wasn't chosen by God. So by nature, these people are foolish. When they see things done in the earth, they first mind don't think of, oh, this is the God of Israel, the God of Hebrews that's done this. In their mind, they have to find an object that they can see, that they can touch, that they can smell, and give it the praise and the glory for what they're seeing being done. Read on.
But deem.
They did what?
But deem.
What that mean? Deem. They honored. Read.
Deem either fire or wind, or the swift air, or the circle of the stars, or the violent water, or the lights of heaven to be the God.
And that's what they do when they see things take place. They might see the sun beaming fire as it could be, right? They'll glorify the sun and make it a god and say, oh, surely the Lord God, the sun, is burning down on us for our evil ways, or he's burning down and blessing our crops to grow. Or if water come through and do certain things, they'll say, oh, this water is giving us life. So the heathens make gods about everything that's natural in the earth. They got a god for every star that's in heaven, right? Read on.
To be gods which govern the world,
Read.
with whose beauty is they, being delighted, took them to be gods.
With the beauty of these objects, they took these things to be gods. Read.
Let them know how much better the Lord of them is.
Read.
For the first author of beauty have created them.
Read on.
But if they were astonished at their power and virtue, let them understand by them how much mightier he is that made them.
Right. Read.
For by the greatness and beauty of the creatures,
Read it, verse 5 again.
for by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionable, the marker of them is seen.
So it says, for by the greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionally by the maker of them is seen. So it's saying by the beauty of the creatures. Who are the creatures referring to? It's talking about us, the blacks, Hispanics, the Native Americans, and the humans on the earth. We were all made in God's image. So instead of glorifying God, because we are the beautiful things that he's made, and all these other things, the beautiful sights that you see in nature. And so instead of reverencing God, they started to reverence the idols or the things that they seen in the world. So hold this right here and give me what you got in Romans 1. And start at verse 20. Romans 1 and 20.
This is the book of Romans chapter 1 and verse 20. For the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse.
So it says, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen. So when we look in the world, we do get caught up in it. Look at the beautiful nature. It feels good outside. Look how the sun sets in the sky. These things are beautiful, but they're not meant to be beautiful where we want to worship them, right? Read on.
Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God.
So when they say when they knew God, that means when they knew the creations of God, the things that God do in the work, when the things that the Most High does in the earth, they don't give God the credit for that. They giving the thing itself the credit for that. You know what I'm saying? If there's a tornado that come through and knock the world down, the people will see that power that tornado gun and start worshiping that tornado. And if a tornado is caused by wind and water, what would the heathen do? They start worshiping the wind and water and give it a title as a god and start bringing sacrifices and offerings to it. Read on.
Neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations.
And they did what?
Became vain in their imaginations.
Read.
And their foolish heart was darkened.
So who are we going into right now? We're starting at the beginning. It's explaining to you in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Before the Israelites were, before these people were, there were people walking the earth who were not, you know what I'm saying, the chosen Adam, who was getting caught up in praising and worshiping everything that they seen amongst them in the process of time. And they were foolish because they weren't giving the Most High God his flowers for the things that he were doing. Read.
Verse 22. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools.
And professing themselves to be wise, they became fools because why? They started worshiping the creatures more than the Creator. Read.
And changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image.
Into a what?
Incorruptible God. Into an image made like to corruptible man. And to birds. And four-footed beasts. And creeping things.
So what is Paul going into? Paul is writing to the Israelites in the church of Rome that he's going into a little history. He's going into the creation of idolatry. How in the process of time, in thousands and thousands of years, generation after generation, the foolish people of this world have always found things in nature, in the sky, a man of any sort, and always reference these men. It might be a lion, it might be a cow. You know what I'm saying? It might be any type of insect. They'll always take certain things and reference them as gods if they find amazement by these certain animals, creatures, or things that you might see in the sky. So that's what we're going to harper on a little bit today. We're going to go into the history of idolatry, where it started, how it affected our people, and how we are still living amongst them same idols that got our people killed back in the day. Go ahead.
It's the book of Romans chapter 1 and verse 21. Because that, when they... Yeah, what you already had that?
We just read it.
Oh shit, my bad. My bad.
Now you go ahead and read it again if you're going to chime in, bro.
No, I was just going to... I ain't going to read it over, but I was just going to say that's exactly what they did. They changed the truth of God into a lie. They made them, birds, wood, stone, as the brother said. Like, they did those things. I didn't hear that precept.
No, you
go
go
back though.
That's 25.
That's it on that you got. So now go back to Wisdom of Solomon. So we just read that. Did you go out with the verse 25?
No, I didn't.
Read verse 24. Read verse 23 again and go down to 25.
Romans?
Yeah, come
Romans 1 and verse 23.
on.
And change the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made to be corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things.
Read.
Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves.
Read.
Who changed the truth of God into a lie.
So who changed the truth of God into a lie? That's the question that I'm posing to you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? Who posed the truth of God into a lie? Who took God's creation and God's glory that he's worth getting and turned it into a lie? It would be the so-called Gentile or heathenish nations that we're living amongst today, that we're serving today. They are the ones that took certain things that God created and turned them into gods and then gave them to you for gods to worship, right? So that's what we're going to find out today. You're going to find out that the other nations who God did not chose are the ones who created these idols and set them before you to be stumbling blocks that they might keep you in their possession. Read on.
God. And serve the creature more than the creator, who is blessed forever. Amen.
And who's blessed forever. Amen. Let's go back to Wisdom of Solomon 13 and then read from verse 5 again on down. And you get Wisdom of Solomon 10 and 1.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13, verse 5.
Right?
For by greatness and beauty of the creatures, proportionable the marker of them,
The maker.
the maker of them is seen.
Read.
Verse 6. But yet for this they are the less to be blamed.
Read.
For they pre-adventure error, seeking God, and desires to find him.
Read.
For being
Conversing.
in his works, they search him diligently.
So the people are conversing in the works of God that they're seeing happen, right? And they're diligently seeking the power of God. Read on.
And believe their sight.
And they believe in the things that they see. Say if we grew up in over there in the east, right? We see Mount Sinai, we see volcano coming out of it. But we don't see no God who come up out of it and say, oh, I did that right there. And we not chosen of God. What we going to do? We're going to start worshiping that mountain. Oh, this mountain is God. It casts out fire. It burns down lava. You know what I'm saying? Oh, praise the Mount Sinai, home of the volcano smoke, right? Read on.
Because the things are beautiful that are seen.
So it's showing you that the humans in the world today, the Adamites, they always get caught up in the things that they see as beautiful, and they want to worship these things. They become idols to these things. Read.
Come. Verse
8.
Verse 8. Howbeit neither are they to be pardoned.
Read. So they're not innocent because the thing that they see done by God, you know what I'm saying? He's saying it's not their fault that the things that they see are beautiful, but they're not innocent either. And this is why that these people or these nations are not innocent. Read on.
Come. Verse 9. For if they were able to know so much that they could aim at the world, how did they not sooner find out the Lord thereof?
So if they was able to go find out all these things, they know how the trees grow, when they grow. They know when the sun rises, when it sets. They see the moon go from half to full, back down to half, back to full. They see all these things. They see stars pop up in the sky. You know what I'm saying? They see all these different things. how were they not able to see these things and know that there had to be a God to create them, right? Read on.
Come on, verse 10. But miserable are they, and in dead things is their hope.
He said, but miserable are they, and in dead things is their hope. Who is he going into? The nation that he didn't choose. Because why? Things that are dead that don't exist, they worship these things. Read on.
Who call them gods, which are the works of men's hands.
So what is he going into when he says that? They take these things that they see and they're amazed at. They take wood and gold and create a moon, create a sun. You know what I'm saying? Create animals, create insects, create each other. Read.
Gold and silver to shew art in resemblance of beasts.
Of who?
To show resemblance of beasts.
Read.
Of a stone good for nothing.
Watch this.
The work of an ancient hand.
So it's the work of an ancient hand. So the reason why we said the repetitive sin of the ancient idolatry is because these idolatry and these demons or these spirits that we worship today, they were once formed by ancient hands of men who didn't know the real true Messiah and the Most High God. You know what I'm saying? Who didn't worship and reverence them. They referenced the things in the beauty of the world that they seen amongst them. These are the things that they worship. So now we're going to dive in on that. So give me Wisdom of Solomon 10 and 1, King. Get verses 3 and verse 1.
It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 10 and verse 1.
Read.
She preserved the firstborn father of the world that was created alone and brought him out of his fall.
And who is this talking about? It's talking about Adam. Read on.
And gave him power to rule all things.
So she is going into wisdom. She preserved the first form father of the world. It's going into Adam that was created and brought him out of his fall and did what? Gave him power to rule all things. Why he getting in 2nd Ezra 3? Let's prove that. Get Genesis 1:28 real quick. Genesis 1:28. So we finna dive on this. We finna deep and dive and deal with a couple of things. Lord willing, we can get through this all today, but we finna try to tackle all the dramatic changes in history when idols got created and set before the people. So this might be a part 1. We might have to do a part 2, 3, 4, Lord willing. But Lord willing, we're gonna try to tackle all these idols that we face with. Read that.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 1 and 28.
Start at verse 27.
Verse 27. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him.
Read.
Male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air.
All right, so now go back to Wisdom of Solomon 10 and 1 and read that again. Or no, you ain't got to read that again. So basically, we just showing you where the Most High said what he said and who he was talking to. So he's talking to the Adam. And in that time, we weren't called how we call Israelites. And during this day and time, people were called Adamites. They were Adams. We were called Adams back then, right? So now read what you got.
Come on, this is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 3 and verse 4.
Watch this, read.
O Lord, who bears rule.
Read.
Thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people,
right?
And gave a body unto Adam.
And he gave a body unto Adam, read.
And gave a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands,
right?
And didst breathe into him the breath of life.
He did what?
And breathe into him the breath of life.
So God created Adam. So when it's talking about Adam, he created many Adams, but he had one Adam that he chose, right? Read.
And he was made living before thee.
And he was made living because he had the breath of life. He had the understanding. It's going to go into that, read.
And thou leddest him into paradise.
And he gave him the kingdom. He led him into paradise, read.
Which thy right hand had planted.
Who is the right hand of God? Yahweh shall read.
Before ever the earth came forward.
Watch this.
And unto him thou gavest commandments.
So Adam got commandments. Adam got commandments. It just wasn't no free for all and you can do what you want. When Adam was created, the chief chosen Adam God gave him laws, statutes, and commandments to live by. Read.
And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way. Which he transgressed.
Which he what?
Which he transgressed.
Because why? We ain't gonna go into that for history's time's sake. But his wife Eve spoke to a serpent, and because God told them of the knowledge of the tree of life and death thou should not eat of. If you partake of it, surely you should know the meaning between good and evil, you should die. We know that she partook of it, she ate of the lies, then Adam did the same thing, they got exposed for. So now that's what we're going into, read.
God, thou appointest death in him and his generation.
So the Most High appointed death in Adam and in his generation because of this sin, right? Right, Rich? Watch this.
Of whom came nations.
Of who?
Of whom came nations.
Right.
Tribe.
People.
And kindred of the number.
And the kindred of the number, read.
And every people walk after their own will.
So after this, when Adam sinned, right, he got kicked out of paradise, right? So now you got the sons of man, the sons of God, and the sons of the wicked, read.
And did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments.
And they despised the commandments of God. You still got that. Go back to Wisdom of Solomon 10. We're going to stay there for a little bit. And you're going to read verse 3 and 4 now. And then you go back. You're going to stay in 2nd Ezra, but we're going to come back there later. But right now, get Genesis 6. You can let that go right now. We're going to come back. Just send Genesis 6 and 1. So now you go back to Wisdom of Solomon 10. So now we finna be jumping around through certain precepts, because what we're going to do is we're going to show you once Adam and Eve sinned and they got led out of paradise, there were multiple people of nations and tribes and kindreds, right? And evil began to go out throughout the earth. It started to increase, like we read in the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 4 verse 30. So now watch this, read that. Verse 3.
It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon chapter 10 and verse 3. But when the unrighteous went away from her in his anger.
Who is this referring to? This is talking about Cain, read.
He perished also in the fury wherewith he murdered his brother.
Read.
For whose cause the earth being drowned with the flood.
So it says for whose cause? Who is it talking about? It's talking about Cain. Cain increased in wickedness. He's the son of the wicked. Cain was the wicked one of the earth at that time. And when Cain went and married wives and had children, they all became the sons of the wicked. So we read 3 different races of people in the world. And it's kind of crazy. You got Ham, Shem, and Japheth after the flood. But before the flood, you had the sons of God, the sons of men, and the sons of the wicked, right? So now this is what we read now. Read that verse again. Verse 4.
Come, for whose cause the earth being drowned with the flood.
Read.
Wisdom again preserved it, and direct the course of the righteous in a piece of wood of small value.
In a small piece of wood of small value. So now we finna go deal with that, because the Lord just didn't kill the flood. He just didn't, I'm just gonna go flood the whole earth because of what Cain did. No, it was a process of things going on in that day and time. And I want to show you what was the root cause of the earth having to be flooded. Read what you got.
Come, this is the book of Genesis chapter 6 from the top.
Right.
And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth.
Right.
And daughters were born unto them.
So what 3 men is talking about here? Read that first, start at verse 1 again, Salaki.
Come, this is the book of Genesis chapter 6 from the top. And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth.
What men? The sons of God, the sons of man, and the sons of the wicked. Read.
And daughters were born unto them.
So in this process of time, we just read in 2nd Ezra that God gave Adam commandments. So not only did he give them, and this is another crazy thing too, people like to say that the commandments weren't given and established until the time of the Israelites out of Egypt, right? But if he tell you not to eat of a certain tree, ain't that a commandment? That's a commandment, right? So you got to understand that we had the commandment of Deuteronomy 7 and 3, not to give your wife, not to give your daughters or your sons up to other people who don't come from your bloodline. That just wasn't no new thing on the earth with the Israelites. This was a thing that the Most High set as a standard from the beginning. And we're finna read about it. Read on.
Verse 2, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men.
So the sons of God, which are the chosen seed that come from self. Read.
That they were fair. And they took them wives of which they chose.
Read.
And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with men.
Read.
For that he also is flesh.
He also is what?
He also is flesh.
Meaning what? This is not talking about no fallen angels. So we're going to go and set that record straight too while we're dealing on this. We're not going here to say, oh, the idols that he's about to go to. He's talking about the fallen angels. that I read in the book of Enoch that I got off of Amazon for $3. It's not talking about that. It's talking about the sons of God. It said, read that verse again.
Come. My spirit shall not always strive with man,
Right.
for that he also is flesh.
He also is what?
Flesh.
Read on.
Yet his days shall be 120 years.
And the Lord said his days was going to be 120 years. So meaning he cut the time span of men's life, and we're going to understand why. Keep reading.
Come, verse 4. There were giants in the earth.
There were what?
Days. There were giants in the earth in those days.
And watch what it said about these so-called giants. It's not talking about no tall basketball players. It wasn't no, in this day there were tall who. We got Shaq, we got Yao Ming, we got, what's that new boy, Victor Wembia.
Yeah.
We ain't talking about them. We talking about real giants in the earth. Read on.
And also after that, when the sons of God came unto the daughters of men,
So when the sons of God came into these women, they created giants. Read.
and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown.
Men of what? Renown.
Men of renown.
So read that verse one more time because we're finna deal with that.
Come. Verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days,
Read.
and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them,
Right.
the same became mighty men, the- which were of old,
Right.
men of renown.
So real quick, I want you to look up that word renown. We're going to deal with that word real quick. Look up that word renown. And while he looking up that word renown, give me the book of Baruch 3:26. Come. All right, let him read that real quick.
Comes the book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 26. There were the giants, famous from the beginning, that were of so great stature and so expert in war.
Read that again.
There were the giants, famous from the beginning.
They were what?
There were the giants, famous from the beginning,
Read.
that were of so great stature and so expert in war.
So the Bible tell you that these men were famous. These men had fame. How does people in the world today who got fame in this world, your favorite rappers, basketball players, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Lil Boosie, Yo Gotti, Glorilla, Sexy Red, these people have fame in the world. How do y'all treat these people, right? Why? So we're going to read that word renown.
Renown, which derives from the word Shem, a primitive word, perhaps rather, what is this?
Let me see.
Or should I just jump right into it?
Jump into these right here.
Okay. Shem, name, reputation, fame, glory.
Slow down. So it say that the word renown is fame, glory, reputation. Read.
The name as designation of God.
Of who?
Of God.
So that same word can report to a people being worshipped and praised and respected as a God. Read.
Memorial.
So let's sit on this. So now read that again in Baruch 3:26, and we're going to go back to Genesis 6.
Comes the book of Baruch, chapter 3 and verse 26. There were the giants, famous from the beginning, that were of so great stature and so expert in war.
Right.
Those did not the Lord choose.
He said the Lord didn't choose those famous men who were born in, you know what I'm saying, sex that was not supposed to take place. The Lord wasn't dealing with that because the sons of God were breaking the commandment and the order that God gave them. So these men who became famous in stature and renowned men, these men started getting praised and worshiped as idols in the world during this time. Read on.
Neither gave he the way of knowledge unto them.
Watch this.
But they were destroyed.
They were what?
They were destroyed.
Read.
Because they had no wisdom.
Read.
And perished through their own foolishness.
So now we're going to go back and read about that. Give me that what you got. Read that again. Genesis 6 and 4.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 6, verse 4.
Get wisdom of Solomon 14:6.
There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, the sons of God came in.
When the sons of God.
When the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men, which were of old, men of renown. Verse 5, and God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart were only evil continually.
And why was it evil continually? Because they were patterning themselves off the things that they were seeing. If you read about, it's talking about these giants, right? They were men who were known for war. You know what I'm saying? Men of great stature. They walking around looking like bodybuilders on steroids, time 10. Right? So they would kill. If they was experts in war, what do you think they were doing in that day and time when they walking the earth? They were killing. They were taking what they want. They were taking over lands. They were extorting people. They were having people bow down and worship them. So now we're reading about the root cause of what happens when you do something that the Lord tells you not to do. Now giants are created in the world who become famous men of war, and now there is wars going on the earth. There is murders going on in the earth. And what did God say with Cain? He said what? We just read in Wisdom of Solomon. He had to destroy the whole world because of the murder that Cain did. Cain opened the door for a murderous spirit to come amongst the world, right? Read.
God. And it repented the Lord that he had made man on the earth, and it grieved him at his heart. And the Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, both man and beast, and on the creeping thing and the fowls of the air, for it repent of me that I have made them.
So it started to repent the Lord, like it's in this day and time, it's starting to repent the Lord that he gave these people who's ruling in this world today, and the wicked jakes who's living amongst this world today, this much time and grace to get themselves together because of the wickedness that's going in and day out. Read on.
Verse 8, but Noah found grace in the eyes of the Lord.
So Noah, he found grace. We're going to read a little bit about Noah for a little bit. Read on.
These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and perfect in his generation. And Noah walked with God.
Read.
And Noah begat 3 sons.
This is very important.
Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
So Shem, Ham, and Japheth is going to play a very key role into the next point we make, because out of one of these men was going to be the rebirth of idolatry. The world right now is about to get destroyed because of why? Idolatry. These people are idly worshiping and following the ways of these giants that walk the earth at this time. Read.
The earth also was corrupt.
The earth was what?
Also was corrupt.
Why? Because the Most High said in the book of Baruch chapter 3 that these giants that were famed, that had fame in the world, the Lord didn't choose them, and there was no wisdom found in these men. So what? The Lord had to kill them. Read.
Before God, and the earth was filled with violence.
And the earth was filled with violence. Now give me that in the book of Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 and 6, and you get Sirach 16 and 7.
Comes the book of Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 verse 6.
Read.
For in the old time also, when the proud giants perished, the hope of the world governed by thy hand escaped in it.
Now start at verse 5. Watch this.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14, starting at verse 5.
Watch this.
Nevertheless, thou wouldest not.
Hold on, Salaki, I'm in the wrong book. My bad, bear with me. Hold on. I'm already tweaking. I'm like, he reading the wrong thing. Watch this. Read that again. Start at verse 5. Matter of fact, we're going to read up a little bit. Start at verse 1.
This is Wisdom of Solomon chapter 14 verse 1.
Right.
Again, one preparing himself to sail and about to pass through the raging waves, calleth upon a piece of wood more rotten than the vessel that carried him.
Watch this. So it's going into a boat or a ship, right? Watch this.
For verily desire of gain devised that, and the workman built it by his skill. But thy providence, O Father, governed it, for thou hast made a way in the sea, and a safe path in the waves. So
what is Solomon describing? He's describing how the ark that Noah made, you know what I'm saying? It was only through the Lord's grace and mercy that their ark survived. Because you got to think about this. If there were giants in the earth and the Lord flooded this earth and the Lord went with Noah, you don't think they could have busted the door open? They could have climbed on top? If they were famous men of war, if they wanted to survive, if it was of the Lord for them to survive, guess what? One of them or two of them or all of them would have survived. Read on.
For very desire of gain devised that, and the workman built it by his skill. But thy providence, O Father, governed it, for thou hast made a way in the sea and a safe path in the waves, showing that thou canst save from all danger.
Right.
Yea, though a man went to sea without art.
So the Lord shows everything that he's able. So what if the Lord, in the small portion that go over a lot of our head is, sometimes the Lord shows us what? That the Lord saved through the passing of the sea. Read that verse again. Hold on. Read that verse again, verse 5.
Come on, verse 5. Thou wouldest not that the works of thy...
No, verse 4, Shalam.
Come on, verse 4. Showing that thou canst save from all danger.
So the Lord, in the Lord's power, he shows that he can save from all manner of danger because, and you know, I ain't trying to jump over the gun, but the same way that the Lord confounded the Egyptians in this day and time, the Lord showed his power against who? The giants of the earth this time, to show them y'all might be giants, but if I flood the earth, how can you survive, right? Read.
Yea, though a man went to sea without art.
Right.
Nevertheless, thou wouldest not that the works of thy wisdom should be idle.
Read.
And therefore do men commit their lives to a small piece of wood.
So who is the Lord referring to right here? It's talking about our forefather Noah. Read.
In passing the rough sea in a weak vessel are saved.
So in that weak vessel that he saved, the Lord showed his power by what? Destroying the giants of the famous men that were idly worshipped. And that was a main part of the wickedness that went on in the earth during this time. Read on.
Verse 6. For in the old time also, when the proud giants perished.
When the proud giants perished. But why is it calling them proud? Because they were boasting themselves as gods on the earth. So the Lord made Noah create a weak vessel and put it in raging water, right? That what? His glory might be found, right? And that Noah and his sons and everybody who survived with him will know that this is the one true living God. Read on.
For in the old time also, when the proud giants perished, the hope of the world governed by thy hand escaped in a weak vessel.
In a what?
In a weak vessel.
Read.
And left to all ages a seed of generation.
And through that weak vessel, the Lord left at all ages a seed of generation, meaning what? Through Noah's seed, through Shem, Ham, and Japheth, there will always be people generating in the earth. Read on.
Verse 7, for blessed is the wood thereby righteousness coming.
So he said, for blessed is the wood whereby righteousness coming. So meaning what? Blessed is that wood that the Most High gave Noah to build that ark. Not saying now we got to start worshiping that wood, right? But what we're reading going into today, this is how idolatry starts. Other people will read this and see that and say, you know what? Wood, God's power is in wood. So now they want to start worshiping wood, right? So we're not going to dive into that yet on how the benefits of wood goes into idolatry. We're going to keep going. So now read that in Sirach 6:16.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 16 and verse
7.
7. Says, he was not pacified toward the old giants who fell away in the strength of their foolishness.
Start at verse 5.
Verse 5.
Matter of fact, no, this one of my, I like one of these, but start at verse 4.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 16, verse 4.
Watch this, because this was the people, what we just read about in Baruch 3, right? The giants had no wisdom, therefore they perished off the earth. But it said what? Noah was a just man. And through him, the Lord used a weak vessel to save him. And it said, blessed be that wood, right? Because through that weak vessel of wood, the Lord was able to take Noah and his sons and keep life going into the earth. Where once they made it off that ark or that vessel, they were able to keep generating seeds throughout the world. But watch this.
Verse 4. For by one that have understanding shall the city be replenished.
So the Lord said, by one that has understanding. Noah had understanding. That's the reason why he was able to replenish the city, or more for not just the city, but the world. The world was replenished by Noah because why? He kept the commandments. He was a wise man of understanding. Read.
But the kindred of the wicked shall speedily become desolate.
And that's what we seen happen with the giants. Read. It's going to keep going into that. Read on.
Many such things have I seen with my eyes.
Read.
And my ears have heard greater things than these.
And his ears have heard greater things than these. And he's about to go into it. Read. Watch this.
In the congregation of the ungodly shall fire be kindled.
Read.
And in the rebellious nation wrath is set on fire.
Watch this.
He was not pacified towards the old giants.
He said he was not pacified through the old giants. So the Most High wasn't really caring about or fazed by or caught up with the fame of these old giants that walked the earth. Read.
Who fell away in their strength.
Who fell away in their strength of what?
of their foolishness.
All right, so now we're going to stop right there because we don't want to go back. So now let's go back to Genesis 6 again. So now we just wanted to show you different scriptures and different reports on how these famous men that walked the earth, they would praise these idols. And at the end of their idolatry reign that they had, what happened? The Lord showed his power. And a lot of people don't touch on that because in the world today, you watch YouTube and Google. Esau want to make you think that they had the strongest wood on the earth. They made the ark by brick. You know what I'm saying? What Franklin say? Brick by brick. We built this ark. And the Lord said, no, by a weak vessel, he showed his power to these people that they were not able to save themselves. So now read that again, King. So go back to verse 10.
Verse 10, this is the book of Genesis chapter 6 and verse 10.
Go to Genesis 17.
And Noah begat 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Read.
The earth also was corrupt before God.
Right.
And the earth was filled with violence.
Uh-huh.
And God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupt in his way upon the earth.
So everybody but Noah and his sons were caught up in the midst of idolatry. And through idolatry becomes all manner of wickedness and lewdness that the Lord can't stand to stand. Read.
And God said unto Noah, the end of all flesh is come before me.
And it's the same thing that the Lord is saying today. The end of all flesh is become. Look at what the world is today. Read on.
For the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth.
So the Lord said, I'm going to destroy them with the earth. Read.
Make thee an ark and go for wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark.
All right, so hold on. Salaki on there. Go now. Let's jump down. Start at Exodus 7. We're going to start at verse 1. Genesis 7. You right. Genesis 7. Matter of fact, just let him keep reading. He already got to.
This is the book of Genesis chapter 7 from the top.
Read.
And the Lord said unto Noah, come, thou and all thy house into the ark. For thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation.
You know, this generation, he's saying that Noah was righteous, right? So now jump down to verse 10.
Verse 10. And it came to pass, after 7 days, the waters of the flood were upon the earth.
Mm-hmm.
In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open.
And the what?
And the windows of heaven were open.
And the windows of heaven were open. So a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, think that, we're not going to change the subject, but a lot of people thinking you can bypass the sky and go into space. You can go set up shop on the moon, take your tent on the moon, a couple Bud Lights. It said the windows of heaven was opened up. You read the book of Job 37 and 18, it tells you that the sky is like a molten glass. So the stuff that you see in the sky, that blueness, that's all water. If them windows open up, we finish. This would be another repeat of Noah's days, right? So now we read that. Now jump down to verse 21.
Verse 21. And all flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beasts, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the face of the earth.
Read.
And every man, all in whose nostril was the breath of life, of all that was in the dry land died, and every living substance was destroyed.
All right, so now jump down to keep reading, Salaki.
And every living substance were destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping thing, the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth. And Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark, and then the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days.
Watch this, verse 1.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 8, verse 1.
We just gonna read verses 1 and 2, and then we're gonna jump to chapter 9.
And God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth, and the waters assuaged. The fountains also of the deep and the windows of the heaven were stopped.
And the windows of heaven were stopped. Read.
And the rain from heaven were restrained.
Read. Now jump over to chapter 9, verse 1.
It's the book of
So what we're reading about is with the root cause of idolatry, right? In the beginning in the garden, when Eve and, you know what I'm saying, if you listen closely to what we read in Wisdom of Solomon 14, right? It said spiritual, worshiping of idols was the spiritual invention of fornication. That was the beginning and the main cause and the end of all sin. So in the beginning, there was idolatry. Then following that beginning, you know what I'm saying, you read about in Genesis chapter 6, there was another form of idolatry took place. So what was the first punishment for that idolatry that happened in the garden? God brought death in the world through Adam. And through Adam, all men died. Then you go into the book of Genesis chapter 6. You read about the three nations that ruled the world at this time. You had the sons of God, the sons of men, and the sons of the wicked. What happened? Through them mingling together and giving their kids and their daughters up to different nations that they had no business happening, what happened? They started creating another generation of wicked devils that became what? Famous men on the earth because of their stature, they expert in war. Think about this. You got the sons of God, they got the power of God mingled up with the son of the wicked, of who Cain, got that murderous spirit. So now you taking his spirit, mixing it with this man's spirit, and now you got so-called famous wicked giants on the earth who did what? They took the mixture of both and they became the gods on the earth. And what did God have to do? God had to destroy the whole earth to show his power against all these people who were caught up in idolatry, because what we're going to learn about today is the root cause of, if you set something up as an idol, eventually everything that idol does, or the reputation of that idol, the people will follow and do the same thing. And that's what we're going to read about in the scriptures today. So go ahead with that.
This is the book of Genesis chapter 9 from the top.
Read.
And God blessed Noah
Read.
and his sons and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth.
Where did we read it at first?
What was that?
Genesis 1, right? So now he's repeating the same commandment that he gave to the Adamites in the beginning to his sons. Read on.
Right. Verse 2. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered.
Read on.
Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you.
Mm-hmm.
Even as the green herb have I given you all things.
Right.
But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat.
And also what we're going into, because a lot of people like to say, oh, this Bible is racist. Y'all are just showing that God is hate. Y'all are hate. But what we reading about is, in the beginning, God gave everybody the benefit of the doubt. Because it's, did God just, when he's talking to Noah right here, did he just say through Shem, I want Shem to listen to this? He gave this commandment to all his sons, right? Be fruitful, multiply. I'm going to give you dominion over everything. And now, what we reading about is God giving Noah and his sons rules or commandments that they must abide by in the earth. It's just them. So basically, he's giving them the kingdom. And he's giving them the kingdom to share amongst each other. But let's see what takes place, read.
Verse 5. And surely your blood of your lives will I require, and the hand of every beast will I require.
Read.
And at the hand of man, at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man.
Watch this, verse 6.
Whoso sheddeth man's blood, whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed.
Isn't there not a commandment that we go by today? Thou shalt not kill.
Right.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Watch this, read on.
For in the image of God man he made.
Why? Read.
Made he man.
Uh-huh.
Verse 7. And you be ye fruitful and multiply, bring forth abundantly in the earth, and multiply therein.
So what is the Lord telling you? Hey man, forget all the negative vibes. You got all the fruit. You got all the animals. Everything is in your dominion. Take your woman. Y'all go over there to y'all tents, to y'all areas that I'm going to give y'all. Be fruitful. Multiply. Make children. Grow the children up. Hey, take your children, take his children. Y'all come together and y'all replenish the earth. You know what I'm saying? He's setting the tone for them that if you follow this pattern, y'all going to be good. Right? Watch this. Watch what happens. Read on.
Verse 8. And God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him,
Read.
saying, I behold, I establish my covenant with you.
And God, hold on, read that verse again, verse 8.
Verse 8, and God spake unto Noah and to his sons with him,
And said what?
saying, and I behold, I establish my covenant with you.
So the Lord had a covenant with these people in the beginning, right? But did they keep the covenant? We're going to read about that. Read on.
And with your seed after you,
Read.
and with every living creature that is with you, of the fowl, of the cattle, and of every beast of the earth with you. For all that go out of the ark, to every beast of the earth. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off anymore.
All right, so let's sit on this. So now we're going to jump down to Genesis 10 and 1. Let him read a little bit so you can get your share. Go ahead, 10 and 1. So now we finna go back into another stage. So we just seen the earth at that time get destroyed by the flood, and now it's being brought back. And the Most High is giving the order again: be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth. This is the rules. He made a covenant with Noah and his sons that way. And what was that covenant? That you'll read about it later on. If you read 11 on down, that covenant is the rainbow that you see in the sky. That rainbow is a covenant to all nations of the world that the Lord would never destroy the world by water again. He never said he'll never destroy the world, but he said he won't destroy it again by water. So now let's read on. Genesis 10:1.
This is the book of Genesis chapter 10 and verse 1.
Right?
Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And unto them were sons born after the flood.
So they kept that commandment. He told them to be fruitful and multiply, go handle your business. They did that. So now we're going to read about it. But it's a particular generation that we want to read about that we're looking for. Jump down to verse 5.
Verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their land.
So the Most High, you can research it though on your own terms. So during this time, the Most High gave Ham a land, he gave Shem a landmass, and he gave Japheth a landmass. He gave Japheth the islands, he gave Shem the land of the east that you see, like Babylon, Iraq, and all those things. And he gave Ham the parts of what you call today is Africa, right? Read on.
By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands.
Right.
Every one after his tongue, after their families in their nations.
Read.
And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan.
So verse 6, I want to touch on this. So the sons of Ham. So if you read up in the last chapter we just read about, you will find out that Ham was a very perverse and sick man. He did something that a lot of people look at you as suspect as, right? So now we're going to look at his root. He had, read that verse again. Who he have?
And the sons of Ham, Cush.
We're going to touch on one of the lineage of Cush, the grandsons of Cush. Read.
And Mizraim.
Read on.
And Put. And Canaan.
And Canaan. So we're going to touch on these things. So Cush, Mizraim, Put, and Canaan, they had some wicked ways about themselves that we're going to read about, right? So now jump down to verse, matter of fact, read about, just keep going. We could just keep going.
And the sons of Cush, Seba, and Havilah, and Sabata,
right,
and Raamah, and Sabeta, and the sons of Raamah, and Sheba, and Dedan, and Cush begat Nimrod.
And Cush begat who?
Nimrod.
So we're gonna touch on Nimrod again, right? So read, now if you notice something, right, we're gonna read about it. Out of everybody it just named, it never gave detail about their creation or the generation that got generated. If it was everything was cool, it just would have said Nimrod, and then Nimrod begot so-and-so and so-and-so, and then so-and-so and so-and-so begot Woo-to-Woo and Woo-to-Woo. But that's not what took place here. Read on.
He began to be a mighty one in the earth.
He began to what?
Be a mighty one in the earth.
So now, when the last person that we known or heard about was mighty in the earth, read on, watch this, keep on.
He was a mighty hunter before the Lord.
He was a what?
A mighty hunter before the Lord.
So who was the last people that we read about that was mighty in the earth at the time? The giants, right? So we read about the giants being mighty hunters in the earth, and through their fame of killing, they became what? Idols to the people on the earth, read on.
Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod, the mighty hunter before the Lord, and the beginning of his kingdom was Babel.
And then hold on, verse 10 again, and then what?
And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar.
In the land of Shinar, read.
Out of that land went forth Ashur, and built it Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah, and Rezin, between Nineveh and Calah, the same is a great city.
So now, question. Why doesn't the Most High name all these other people and go into great detail about that? Because he's letting you know this is where the next stage of idolatry got formed and created. Through Cush, his grandson Nimrod was a mighty hunter before the Most High, right? And through Nimrod, he had a kingdom established, right? The ancient kingdom of Babylon. The ancient kingdom of Babylon. It had named all these other places and lands that they named after themselves that they had rulership and power over, right? Real excited. Now hold this, and we're going to go back to this. Give me Micah 5 and 6. Let me show you something real quick. And remember, we are going into the ancient idolatry of the people before us and how we still worshiping these same idols today. Give me that Micah 5 and 6.
Come on, this is the book of Micah, chapter 5, and verse 6.
Come on.
And they shall waste the land of Assyria with the sword, and the land of Nimrod.
And the land of who?
And the land of Nimrod.
Read.
In the entrance thereof. Thus shall he deliver us from the Assyrian.
So that land was named after Nimrod because in the ancient times, that was a land that he was a ruler or predominantly king over, right? Read on. Go back to Genesis 11. So we're done in Genesis 10. We're going to read a little bit of Genesis 11.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 11 from the top.
And you hold Judah 5. Hold Judah 5. Judah in the Apocrypha. Chapter 5. Now go back. Now read what you got.
Come on, this book of Genesis, chapter 11 from the top. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech.
No, matter of fact, read 10:32 real quick.
Come on, it's the book of Genesis, chapter 10 and verse 32. And it reads, these are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations and their nations. Right. And by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood.
Go ahead.
Genesis 11, from the top. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. They found a plain in the land of Shinar, read. And they dwelt there.
Read. Now it's going into the history of Nimrod. Watch this.
And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick.
Hold on, quick question. When they read 11 and 1, right? Read that verse again.
And they said one to another.
Now read 11 and 1 again.
Come on, 11 and 1. And the whole earth was of one language and of one speech.
And the whole earth was of one language and one speech at this time, right? Read on.
And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar.
Read.
And they dwelt there.
Read.
And they said one to another, go to, let us make brick, and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and slime, and they for mortar. And they said, go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven.
Read.
And let us make us a name.
Who you think this is talking about? It's going into Nimrod. So Nimrod had all the people with him, and now he's going into building him a civilization. So this is where, at this time, it tells you in Genesis 10 that Nimrod was a mighty hunter. And he told you he's the one that established the kingdom. Nimrod was one of the first men that established the kingdom. Read on.
Lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth.
Read.
And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language.
Why? Because Nimrod put all the people under his authority as one. Nimrod gathered all the people around. How was he a mighty hunter? Was he just mighty at collecting chickens or killing goats and killing lambs? No, he was a mighty hunter through hunting and killing the people that was around at the time on that earth and bringing people into dominion. That's why he said all the people of one. When they say one, that means everybody was on the same page, what? Following the ways of Nimrod. And Nimrod also had parents. And Nimrod's mother was a key role in this as well. Read on.
And this they begin to do. And now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do.
Read.
Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech.
Right.
So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence upon the face of all the earth, and they left off to build the city.
And they left off to build the city because while the Lord went down there and dealt with that, the Lord went down there and jacked them up and he sent them all their ways. So in process of time, Nimrod, he had a mother and he married his mother. His mother's name was Semiramis, right? We're not going to read we're going to read about that a little later, right? But in the process of time, Nimrod had a mother. He married his mother. Him and his mother had a child, and Nimrod died. In the process of time, we still keep reading about, right? So now we're going to jump down to verse 26.
Come on, verse 26.
Right.
And Terah lived 70 years and begat Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Now these are the generations of Terah. Terah begat Abram, Nahor, Haran, and Haran begat Lot. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity,
Right.
in Ur, or the Chaldeans. And Abram and
What verse you at?
verse 29.
Come, go ahead. Now read verse 28 again.
Come. Verse 28. And Haran died before his father Terah in the land of his nativity, in Ur
Of the Chaldees. So where is this area at? The Ur of the Chaldees. This is in the land of Babylon. And who ruled the land of Babylon years and years ago? Nimrod. So I want you to keep that in mind, right? Keep on.
And Abram and Nahor took them wives. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife, Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Ishkar.
Right.
But Sarai was barren; she had no child. And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarai, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan.
And to do what?
To go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there.
So now we got to touch on something. It says, so Terah, Abram's son, Terah took Abram his son, and Lot the son of Haran his son, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, and his son's Abram's wife, and they went forth from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. Now, what would make you just leave the land of your nativity and go to another place? We're going to read about it. Give me that Judah 5 and 6. Then you hold this right here. Give me Joshua 24 and 2. Come. Oh, my bad. Come.
This is the book of Judah, chapter 5 and verse 6. It says, this people are descendants of the Chaldeans.
Who is it talking about? It's talking about our forefather Adam and Abraham and his descendants. Read on.
And they sojourned heretofore in Mesopotamia.
Hold on. So Mesopotamia is Babylon, the land of ancient Babylon, Iraq today. Read on.
Because they would not follow the gods of their fathers.
So hold on. This is why they left the land of Ur of the Chaldees. Because what?
They would not follow the God of their father.
And they would not follow the gods of their fathers. So now we're catching up on history. What gods did their fathers worship in the land of Babylon, or the land of Mesopotamia, and the land of Ur of the Chaldees? Right? They were worshiping Nimrod. Because now we're going to go in on history. We don't have time to read through all that. But Nimrod married his mother Semiramis, right? Nimrod ended up dying. Semiramis knew she was pregnant, right? She ended up pregnant. And through process of time, she came and said that without man's seed, she born a child and bare a child, and it was the reincarnated Nimrod. And in that process of time, Nimrod started being worshipped as a god on the earth. And in that process of time, they started calling him what? Baal. So in that land of their captivity, they started worshiping Nimrod and his mother. So those were the gods of the land of Babylon. Read on.
Which were in the land of Chaldea.
Of what?
Which were in the land of Chaldea.
Read.
For they left the way of their ancestors.
What was the ways of their ancestors? Worshiping Nimrod and his mother, idols.
And worshiped the God of heaven, the God whom they knew. So they cast them out from the face of their God.
So why did they say their gods? Because they had his mother as the queen of fertility, of the queen, the god of heaven, and they had him labeled as the sun god. Read on.
And they fled into Mesopotamia and sojourned there many days.
So they just didn't up and leave. They fled there because they was going against the customs of the people that were living in that land. And if they didn't leave, they were going to die. Read what you got.
It's the book of Joshua, chapter 24, verse 2.
Read.
And Joshua said unto all the people, Thus said the Lord God of Israel,
Right.
Your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham, and
Read.
the father of Nachor, and they served other gods.
They did what?
They served other gods.
So it's evidently known that Abram's father, or our forefather Abraham's grandfather, and them served idols in the land of Chaldees, which is what? The same land of Babylon. The place where Nimrod had dominion at, they had roots in that place, and they there was caught up in idolatry worship, right? Now drop that and give me the book of 2nd Ezra 3. We're going back to 2nd Ezra 3, and now we're going to start at verse 7. And 3 and verse 7. And you go back to let me see. Yeah, that's it on there right now. Go ahead. Come on.
It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 3 and verse 7.
So now, as a matter of fact, let's go back to 2nd Ezra 3 and 4 at the top again. We're going to ran back through it so we can re-elaborate on what we just read about.
Comes the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 3 and verse 4.
Read.
O Lord, who bearest rule, thou spakest at the beginning, when thou didst plant the earth, and that thyself alone, and commandest the people, and gavest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hands, and didst breathe into him the breath of life. And he was made living before thee.
Read.
And thou leddest him into paradise, which thy right hand had planted, before ever the earth came forward. And unto him thou gavest commandment to love thy way, which he transgressed, and immediately thou appointest death in him, and his generations, of whom came nations,
Right.
tribes, people, and kindreds out of number.
Out of who? Meaning who? The sons of man, the sons of God, and the sons of the wicked. Read on.
And every people walked after their own will.
After their own will, following who? The giants, the famous giants of renown, the ones that set themselves up as gods on the earth at this time. Read on.
And did wonderful things before thee, and despised thy commandments.
And they despised God's commandments. Read on.
And again, in process of time, thou broughtest the flood up on those that dwelt in the world, and destroyest them. And it came to pass in every of them that as death was to Adam, so was the flood to these.
Just like we said earlier, as death was the judgment for Adam's sin, was death brought into the world, the same judgment for these people was the flood. Read on.
Nevertheless, one of them thou leftest, namely Noah, with his household, of whom came all righteous men.
Who came what?
All righteous men.
So we got to stop right there. So when they say all righteous men, it's not saying that Shem, Ham, and Japheth were all righteous. It's saying of one of his sons came the seed of the righteous, which was through Shem. Read on.
And it happened that when they that dwelt upon the earth began to multiply, and had gotten them many children, and were a great people, they began again to be more ungodly than the first.
How? Because they set up and started worshiping a man who slept and married his mother. Nimrod. Nimrod was a mighty hunter on the earth. And when the people seen that he was crafty and quick with his hands, and he can put you to death in the blink of an eye, people started looking at that man as a king, as a god on the earth. And he put everybody in submission and had people ready to build a tower to make this tower go all the way up into heaven. So where Nimrod and his mother, Semiramis, can sit as gods on the earth. Read on.
Now when they lived so wickedly before thee, thou didst choose thee a man from among them, whose name was Abraham.
So now think about it. Now what is this going into? Now it's letting you know that Abraham, when we read about in the book at the end of Genesis chapter 11, Abraham was the next man in line to stand out and say, you know what, I'm not following after this. This man this nigga a freak. Man. This man slept with his mama. And now he didn't tell me he didn't rebirth through his mama. And now his mama, his wife, and now we're supposed to be worshiping him his mama, and his son. No, I'm not doing that. And guess what? He got exiled out of his land that he dwelt in that day. So within that, now we finna go into how the Lord chose Abraham. Read on.
Him thou lovest, and unto him only thou showest thy will, and madest an everlasting covenant with him.
And made a what?
Everlasting covenant with him.
All right, so now we're going to read about this everlasting covenant that the Most High made with Abraham because of the boldness that and the stiffness that he stood for the Lord, and while he was living in the land of idolatry, the land of Babylon. Now, give me that to Genesis 15. Yeah, Genesis chapter 15 and verse 1.
Come on, this is the book of Genesis chapter 15 and verse 1. After these things, the word of the Lord came unto Abram in a vision, saying, Fear not, Abram, I am thy shield and thy exceeding great reward.
Why did he tell him not to fear? Because these people were looking to kill him. They felt like he was being an abomination to their lineage and their heritage because he went bound the knee and bound down to these false gods. Read. No. Verse 7. Jump down to verse 7. Come.
Genesis chapter 15, verse 7.
Read.
And he said unto him, I am the Lord that brought thee out of Ur of the Chaldees.
And why he's saying it like that? I am the Lord which brought thee out of the land of Ur of the Chaldees, because they wanted to take this man's life. The Lord put things in place to protect Abraham and guide him out of the reed.
To give thee this land to inherit it. And he said, Lord God, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it?
So now he's about to go in and let him know how he know when he's going to inherit it. Now jump down to verse 12.
Verse 12, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him.
Read.
And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
So now he's going into letting him know, and this is another side note, you know what I'm saying? He that has an ear, let him hear. Think about what the Lord commands us, right? When you read the book of Exodus 20, right? The Lord says, I am a jealous God. And if we don't do right, he says, visiting the sins of our people in the third and fourth generation. So with that being said, think about what the Most High is prophesying here. Before the Lord brought the flood and destroyed all mankind, what was the sons of God doing on the earth at that time? They were caught up in sleeping with the other people's children, right? Women that they had no business partaking in with, right? So now, when you compare what these wicked Negroes did as the sons of God, and now God telling these people, read verse 13 again.
God, verse 13, and he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years.
And they shall afflict them 400 years. So you got to think about it. How is God telling Abraham, I love the way you standing 10 toes down for me, but know of a surety that you're going to have a children, and I'm going to make your children slaves, and they're going to be slaves 400 years. It's only because the same people who were called the sons of God, they were going to be re-brought back into the earth today and during the time of Abraham, and as the Israelites, and they were going to have to serve 400 years of slavery in Egypt for the sins that they did years prior to that. So that's why the Lord had them do that. You know what I'm saying? People might say you bugged out or you generated. Why do you think we end up being brought as slaves in America? And we had our nationality taken from us because why? The Lord made us pay for the sins that we committed previously, right? So now keep going on that.
Verse 14, and also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge.
And just like today's term, once this sentence here that we serving in America is done, the Lord said that what? He's going to come get up with these people and judge them. Read on.
And afterwards shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace.
Read.
Thou shalt be buried in a good old age. But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again.
So guess what? In that same generation they were brought into there after the fourth generation, he said what?
But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again. For the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
So the same way that the Most High was making us serve judgment and slavery in the land of Egypt, he said when that time is up, they also gonna come dwell in the land of Canaan again. But he said, hold on, before they come, the work of the Amorites, read that again.
But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full.
So what was the iniquity of the Amorites? The Amorites are in the land of Canaan, right? So watch this. Give me 1 Kings 21:26. Come.
The book of 1 Kings chapter 21 and verse 26.
Right?
And he did very abominably in following idols, according to all things, as did the Amorites.
As did the what?
The Amorites.
Read that whole verse again.
And he said very abominably in following idols, according to all things, as did the Amorites.
As did the Amorites, read on.
Whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel.
And so they were counting their days in the land of Canaan, because we're going to read about, at the end, we're going to close out and read about why the Lord kicked these certain people out of the land. So now we're going to go to Exodus 32. And for the sake of time, we're not going to be able to finish everything, but this is going to be just part 1. So stay tuned. So now we're going to skip forward. We know there was many idols in Egypt, but there's one idol that we're going to speak about, right? The children of Israel seen all the miracles that the Lord did, right? But what did they do? After that certain deliverance, they went right back into Egypt. Went right into the wilderness and brought one of the idols that they seen being worshipped in Egypt right back amongst them again, right? So now we're going to read Exodus 32. Yeah, from the top.
Comes the book of Exodus chapter 32 and from the top.
Right?
And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount.
Hold on, matter of fact, hold this. Give me Leviticus 18:1. And we're going to jump. But no, matter of fact, go ahead and read this. Go ahead and read this.
It's the book of Exodus chapter 32 and verse 1.
Right.
And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron,
Right.
and said unto him, Up, make us gods.
Up what?
Up, make us gods.
So these same people who got delivered out of the land of Egypt by the Most High, seeing the powers of the Most High God, you know what I'm saying, when they seen Moses gone doing something on their behalf, told Aaron to get up and make us gods, read on.
Which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man that brought us up out of the land of Egypt,
Right.
we wot not what is become of him. And Aaron said unto them, Break off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives, of your sons, and of your daughters, and bring them unto me.
Right.
And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in their ears, and brought them unto Aaron. And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graven tool, after he had made it a molten calf.
He made it a what?
Made it a molten calf.
So he made this, and now we got to ask ourselves, out of everything he could have made for these people, why did he make them a golden molten calf, right? Let's read about that. So watch this, read, keep going on that.
And they said, These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out the land of Egypt.
He told them, what now? Read that again.
These be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out the land of Egypt.
So you got to understand that he took this certain God in particular and told the Israelites, these be thy gods who have led thee out of the land of Egypt. Watch this, read on.
And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, Tomorrow is a feast to the Lord.
And what Lord is he referencing? That calf. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into the history of that calf. We're going to go into the history of that calf. Real quick, give me a second. I want you to read something for me. Give me a second. Read this right here. You got it. He got it. Go ahead.
Come. The Egyptian god Apis.
The Egyptian god who?
Apis was a highly revered ancient god of fertility, death, and the underworld. The name Apis, however, is Greek. He was called Hap, or Hap in Egypt. Apis was typically predicted as a large black horned bull with white body markings and a mended collar,
Read.
which was the sacred necklace of the goddess Hara.
Hurrah.
Hara.
Hathar.
And also wore a radiant sun crown bearing the Uraeus, a serpent, representative of powerful king.
Of powerful kings. Watch this. Is mic going up? Hello? Yeah, it's going up. Let me see this. So, watch this. We're going to keep reading on this real quick. I want you to jump down. I want you to jump down until you see what is the name of the bull god. Watch this.
Okay. What is the name of the bull god? Although ancient Egypt had many bull and cow gods, the most revered bull god, revered bull god was Apis. Was named Apis. Apis was the son of the mother of all gods.
It said he what?
Was the son of the mother of all gods.
Now you got to ask yourself a question. Who does this sound similar to? This sounds similar to Semiramis, the mother of all living, the mother of fertility, the mother of heaven. You know what I'm saying? And it said, what? Read that part again.
Apis was the son of the mother of all gods.
So the mother of all idolatry. So, because that's true. Semiramis was the mother of idolatry in this generation and age, right? Read. Go ahead.
Hathor, and closely linked to the creator. Ptah, and Osiris.
Who?
Osiris. Of the underworld.
Of the underworld. So we're going to deal with that now. Go to your phone and read what I sent you. Oh, okay. Come on, Salaki. Dang, that's crazy. All right, hold on. So now I want you to read this part right here. The part that's highlighted. So watch this. Read that. I want you to read that through. So now we're going to go into the history. This is going into the history of Nimrod and his mother Semiramis and how they had a big impact on the world today. From the generations, from the time that their kingdom got established, their reputation had so much weight to it that it got implemented throughout all the world. Because you got to think about it. It said all the world was around them at that time. And they said that everybody agreed to be one people. So you got to think you had Ham out there, Shem out there, and Japheth out there. So when they seen Nimrod at that time being a god on the earth, all of them took certain things from the power and the greatness that they seen from him and branched gods of their own based off of him and his mother. That's why it says Semiramis was the mother of all gods. Because through her and her crafty mind, all these other nations came out with gods and gave reference to her and her son. Read that.
Though her scheming and designing, Semiramis became the Babylonian queen of heaven.
She did what?
Became the Babylonian queen of heaven.
Read on.
And Nimrod, under various names, became the divine son of heaven.
He became the what?
Son of heaven.
So he was the one that was the mighty hunter. He was the king. But when he died, his mama became the ultimate finesser. And she said, nah, I'm big homie. And she sunned him. Read, watch this.
Through the generations in this idolatrous worship, Nimrod became the false Messiah.
He became the what?
He became the false Messiah.
So from Nimrod, the Tower of Babylon, the name of Babylon is the land of confusion, because where they confused the tongues amongst the people, but also that land created the first major known idolatry in the world today. The mother of heaven and the son of the mother of heaven, right? And he became the false Messiah on earth. Read on.
Son of Baal, the sun god.
The who?
Son of Baal, the sun god.
So if he's the son, now who was the father? He's the father and the son. Where you think you get the Trinity from? Where you think the Virgin Mary comes from? This comes from Semiramis and Nimrod. She took these things and they became culture and identity in the world today. Read.
In this false Babylonian system, the mother and child, Semiramis and Nimrod reborn, became chief objects of worship.
They became what?
Chief objects of worship.
So when you think about the beginning of idolatry in the new world after the flood, they became the chief objects of worship. Read on.
This worship of mother and child spread over the world.
Then what?
This worship of mother and child spread over the world.
Keep going.
The names varied in different countries.
And they vary in different countries because why? The Lord judged them and changed the language. When the Lord changed the language, they still had the same deities in mind, but now they have their own languages. He divided them and put all these heathen nations and other nations in a certain land masses. Read on.
The names varied in different countries and languages. In Egypt, it was Isis and Osiris.
Hold on. In Egypt, it was who?
In Egypt, it was Isis.
And who? Osiris.
Osiris.
So hold on, wait a second. Didn't it not just read where you would just say, go back to that? Didn't it not just say that another word for that bull frog that they worship in Egypt was called what? What is the name of the bull? Go back to where you just was at. Right here. Read that again.
Though ancient Egypt was many bull and cow gods, the most revered bull god was named Apis. Apis, the son of the mother of all gods, Hathor, and closely linked to the creator of Ptah and Osiris.
And who?
And Osiris.
So what was the name of Nimrod? Now read that part again. It said that Nimrod, another name that he was named in Egypt was what?
In the false Babylonian system, the mother and child, Semiramis and Nimrod reborn, became chief objects of worship.
Read.
This worship of mother and child spread over the world.
Spread over the world. Come on.
The names varied in different countries and languages. In Egypt, it was Isis and Osiris.
Osiris. So the name in Egypt was Isis and Osiris. So when Aaron made the calf, who did Aaron make that god and reference it to? He referenced it to Nimrod. All lines draw back to Nimrod. So the calf that he made was an image reference and created for Nimrod. That's why when you go back and you piece all the puzzles together that we've been making, a lot of people see powerful and beautiful things created in the world. Matter of fact, let's just go back to it. Give me Wisdom of Solomon 30. Matter of fact, give me the one in Romans. Give me Romans 1 and 21 again. Because what we are drawing the line here, Wisdom of Solomon 13. I want that one better. Yeah, let's get Wisdom of Solomon 13 real quick. Shalom. So watch this, Wisdom of Solomon 13, because, if y'all watching along, and I know the service slowly building up off the ground. When we did the closing of the Passover, we touched on this God. And I kind of highlighted, and I was like, oh yeah, we're going to revisit that next week. So the god Hathor, right? So we touching on Hathor. So now we just agree and come to the conclusion. And if you think we capping or we made this up, you know what I'm saying, Google it. Google it. Osiris is no other person than Nimrod. Nimrod's name in Egypt. So now watch this. Give me Wisdom of Solomon 13 again. Yep.
This is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 13 and verse 1.
Read.
Surely vain are all men by nature.
Read.
Who are ignorant of God.
So all these people in these other nations, they ignorant of the Most High. That's why they took certain things that Nimrod did. And when the Most High jacked them up and separated all of them, what did they do? They still took the customs and the power and the fear that Nimrod instilled into them, and they made Nimrod gods. The Most High God, they made him gods, right? Now, drop this. Give me Romans 1:21. I want the one about 4-footed beasts. Give me that in Romans 1:21.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 21.
Come on.
Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God.
When they knew God, when they knew the power of God, they did not glorify the Most High God as God. But read.
Neither were thankful, but became vain in their became vain in their imaginations and their foolishness. Heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools.
Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. Read.
And changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image.
Into a what?
Incorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man.
And who was that corruptible man that they made these things in comparison to? Nimrod. Read.
Into birds and 4-footed beasts.
Into birds, into 4-footed beasts. That's why when you see Paul was a wise man, Paul understood when you go into all these ancient captivities. Don't a bird symbol back to the Egyptians?
Right.
Don't a calf symbol back to the Egyptians? Don't a frog symbol back to the Egyptians? Don't when you look outside, you see the sun at one point, then you see the moon at one point. All these things symbol back to Nimrod and his mother Semiramis. Read on.
footed beasts, and creeping things.
So he said, and they changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made to a corruptible man, and to birds and four-footed beasts. So that's why when we read about this thing that we're reading about in Exodus 32 that we're finna go back to, this is why these things was made. This is why Aaron did what he did, because while he lived in the land of Egypt, Aaron and the Israelites saw the Egyptians worshiping and praising Nimrod and his mother through different forms of religion and worshiping. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you go back, and if you watch the video that we did last week, that'll be on the YouTube. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. You will read that what? All the judgments that God did on the country was because of what? The evils that they did, right? Come on.
Come. Verse 24. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves.
And that's what God gave up to these other nations. He said, since y'all want to be so bugged out and so stupid, if y'all want to believe that this man and his mother is the God and the mother of all things, hey, have it. You know what I'm saying? Amen. So be it. Right? But watch this, verse 25.
Who changed the truth of God into a lie?
So now we answering the question. We read this earlier. We asked the question, who changed the truth of God into a lie? And it was the what? The worshiper of idols. The people, the ancient men who took their hands and carved idols up and set them before people and made people worship them. They are the ones that changed the truth of God into a lie. They are the ones today, when you look in the world, when you look around and you examine all these different gods, you will find out that all these gods lead back to Nimrod and his mother, Semiramis. That's why when you read about the Trinity doctrine, the virgin birth, when you read the Bible, you understand that Mary she wasn't no virgin. You know what I'm saying? Christ descends from the seed of David. But when you look at these religions that they put out here, right, you understand that their religions is twisted with the scriptures, but it all leads back to the beginning, the mother of all gods, meaning who? Semiramis. She's the mother of all idolatry. She's their repetitive. Nimrod and Semiramis are the repetitive two devils that have caused the nation of Israel to continuously dwell in sin. And that's why we're exposing it now. That's why when you ask who turned the truth of God into a lie, the Bible is showing you, right? So now let's drop that. Let's go back to Exodus 32 again.
From the top.
Go back to verse 4. No, verse 2, yeah.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 32, and verse 2.
Matter of fact, yeah, start at verse 1 again. I want to hit that point again.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 32, from the top.
Right.
And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down out of the mount, the people gathered themselves together unto Aaron, and said unto him, Up, make us gods, which shall go before us. For as for this Moses, the man brought us up out of the land of Egypt. We wot not what is become of him.
So this is the thing too, and this is why in this captivity the Lord said, no, it ain't finna be that easy. I'm not just finna bring all you Negroes out of this land, right? This is why the Most High did that, because when he did that at first, you got to understand, was all these Israelites, it was over when you read the book of Exodus 12:37 on down, you read it was over 600,000 men of war who got delivered out of Egypt, not considering the women and the children and the old amongst us, right? So it was over 600,000 plus of us that dwelt and came out of the land of Egypt. You think all of us was righteous? All of us was keeping the laws and the statutes and commandments of the Lord to our best ability? I answer for you, hell no. We was wicked, and a lot of these Israelites that got delivered out of the land of Egypt was headstrong into idolatry. Because why? They spent 400 plus years there. That's what the Lord said was going to happen. We were going to spend 400 plus years in the land of Egypt, right? So what took place in the land of Egypt in them 400 years? We was breaking our backs in. Moses came on the scene. We started seeing the powers. We would submit to it because we like, oh, okay, this thing a vibe. And when Moses delivered us out, when he went up to Mount Sinai, we said, man, where this nigga at? Now, you know I can't sit here long without nothing to worship now. Hey, Aaron, give us a God. Give us gods to worship. And the first thing that Aaron think of to worship is, oh, you know what? I'll just reinvent Hathor. I'll go reinvent Osiris. I'll bring Osiris out here and set him up. Take them earrings off that the Egyptians gave us. We'll make this our God. So this is why we must acknowledge and realize where the idolatry and where the root of the problem is coming from. Read on.
Come, verse 2. And Aaron said unto them, break off the golden earrings, which are in the ears of your wives and of your sons.
Of your sons.
Of your sons and of your daughters, and bring them unto me.
Read.
And all the people brake off the golden earrings which were in the ears, and brought them unto Aaron.
Read.
And he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graven tool. After he had...
Hold on. This is another question you got to ask yourself. So I know we are wise people and ain't nothing we can do. Why do you think he was able to read that verse again?
Verse 4, and he received them at their hand, and fashioned it with a graven tool.
So he got a graven tool, and he's sitting there handling the bit. Why do you think he was so skillful at doing that? Because it's not a new thing to him. This is something that he's seen done previously in the land of Egypt. Read on.
After he had made it of molten calf, and they said, these be thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
Read.
And when Aaron saw it, he built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation and said, tomorrow is a feast to the Lord. Then they rose up early on the morrow and offered burnt offering and brought peace offering. And the people sat down to eat and to drink, and rose up to play.
Read.
And the Lord said unto Moses, go get thee down, for thy people which thou brought out of the land of Egypt have corrupt themselves.
They did what?
Have corrupt themselves.
Read on.
They have turned aside quickly out of the way which I command them.
And they commanded quickly. So this is the way that the Lord commanded us. I just got 2 more verses. Give me Leviticus 18. We're going to start at verse 1. And so what we're showing you is the repetitive sin of the ancient idolatry. The same 2 people who started all the idolatry after the flood are the same 2 people causing stumbling blocks generation and generation and generation of the Israelites. Even when the Lord delivered us out of the land of Israel, like when you read Wisdom of Solomon 13, Romans chapter 1, you read about how you see the power of God, but they didn't acknowledge it as the power of God. Our people always had to be them type of people where if it was something they wanted to get recognition for something, it has to be right here in our face. We can't say that God did it and God dwelling in the heavens and we can't see him. We have to see a God and worship this God. So this is what we're going into today. Read.
This is the book of Leviticus 18 from the top.
Give Wisdom of Solomon 12 and 1 as well.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, I am the Lord your God.
He said, I am Yahweh, your power. He had to let this be known to them, right? Why? Because he's seen that their minds was polluted with everything that they seen in the land of Egypt, right? Read on.
After the doings of the land of Egypt, wherein ye dwelt, shall ye not do.
What was going on in the land of Egypt? Like I said, if you tuned into our class last week, we went into all the different idols and the false gods that dwelt in the land of Egypt and how the Most High judged them there. So what he's telling them after the doings of the land of Egypt, all the idolatry, the paganism that goes on there, the uncleanness of eating, all these things, don't do that. Read on.
And after the doings of the land of Canaan, whether I bring you, shall ye not do, neither shall ye walk in their ordinances.
Neither shall you walk in their ordinances, in their customs, right? So now he's going into the land of Canaan. Because when we read Genesis 15 and 19, right? What did the Lord say? The iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Who's the Amorite? He's the son of Canaan. So the sin that they were partaking in the land of Canaan had not yet come to a full, but now it's coming into a full. So the Lord is telling the Israelites what? The wickedness that you've seen over there, the idol worshiping, don't do it. And now this land that you're about to come into is about to be some idol worshiping going on, some sacrifices. Don't partake in that. Let me see that. Now read this. Now let's go into what took place in the land of Canaan. Why did the Canaanites get evicted? Read.
It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 1 and chapter 12, verse 1.
Come on.
For thy incorruptible spirit is in all things.
So the Lord's spirit is in all flesh, whether we like it or not. Some spirits, he put some spirits in people to keep the commandments, some spirits in people to be wicked, and he put some spirits in people just to kill people, right? Read on.
Therefore chasten thou them by little, and little that offend, and warnest them by putting them in remembrance, wherein they have offended.
So that's why little by little, in captivity after captivity, oppression after oppression, the Lord does these things to us and puts us in remembrance on why he done this, right? That's why when we read the book of Psalm chapter 102 verse 18, I told y'all that these things that are written and that we're going to learn about today was written to the generations to come. Who are the generations to come? We are here. We are that generation to come. So that's why the Lord said he put these things in place and he chastised our people little by little and to put us in remembrance of what not to do that pisses the Lord off, right? Read on, King.
Wherein they have offended, that leaving their wickedness.
That what?
That leaving their wickedness.
That leaving the wickedness of idolatry. We are realizing what the root of the idolatry is. We see where it came from now. Read.
They may believe on thee, O Lord.
Oh, who?
O Lord.
Read.
For it was thy will to destroy by the hands of our fathers both those old inhabitants of thy holy land.
And what land was that? The land of Canaan. Read on.
Whom thou hatest for doing most odious works of witchcraft.
Of what?
Of witchcraft.
Read.
And wicked sacrifices.
Who was they sacrificing to? These wicked sacrifices was to Nimrod and his mother. You know what I'm saying? Baal, the sun god. You know, Isis, all these different names, Ishtar. These are all talking about him and his mother. They are the beginning and the main cause and the end of all evil on the world, like we read in Wisdom of Solomon 14:27. Read on.
And also those merciless murderers of children.
Because why? People was offering their children up to this man. Read on.
And devourers of man's flesh.
Read.
And the feast of blood.
Read.
With their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew.
With the what?
Idolatrous crew.
No, with their priests.
With their priests out of the midst of their idolatrous crew.
So in the land of Canaan, they even had priests in that land walking around, partaking in the idolatrous crew, meaning what? In the idolatrous acts of following after Nimrod and his mother Semiramis. Read on.
They had the gang.
The gang. God, you heard it right. The gang. Read on.
And the parents that killed with their own hands souls destitute of help.
Read on.
That the land which thou esteemest above all other might receive a worthy colony.
A worthy who?
A worthy colony.
Of what?
Of God's children.
And that's the same thing going on today. Ain't it a coincidence? The Israelites dwelt in the land of Egypt, right? The same time that they were serving 400 plus years in bondage and hard affliction, right? In that same 400 years, you had the Amorites and the Canaanites dwelling in the land of Israel, that land that God esteems above all other colonies, doing God knows what, and all manners of abomination and wickedness in it. So now look at where the Israelites are. The Israelites are scattered abroad amongst the earth, right? And guess what that land is doing? That land is dwelling and letting the iniquity of the Amalekites, the anti-Amalekites, you know what I'm saying, rule full-fledged over there. They got kosher cigarettes, kosher condoms, you know what I'm saying, kosher zaza, you know what I'm saying, who?
Kosher pork.
Kosher pork, you know what I'm saying, kosher shrimp, crab, lobster, you know what I'm saying. So now what is going on? Their iniquity is building up because by the hands of the fathers, how these people got judged, the hands of our fathers or the hands of us, Lord willing, we're going to put it on these same jokers, right? Read on.
Verse 8, nevertheless, even those thou sparedest as men, and didst send wasps, forerunners of thine host, to destroy them by little and little. Not that thou wast unable to bring the ungodly under the hand of the righteous in battle, or to destroy them at once with cruel beast, or with one rough word.
Right? Now, hold on. Let this go and go to the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 21. Because you got to understand something here. What we going through is, and then one of y'all give me 1 John 5 and 21. Or 1 John 5, last verse. It might be 21, but the whole point of this, the 5 and last verse. So the whole point of this is what we're showing you, that the order that God put in the earth for the world to be ran by a certain curriculum or laws, statutes, and commandments, These same people that dwell on the earth said, no. We can't let that happen. We want to get worship. We want to get praise. These same people who are ignorant by nature said, you know what? I want to be able to worship something I can see, I can touch, I can create with my own hands. And this is what we seeing today, right? Watch this, read that. And this is what the invention of that, right?
Come on, this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 21.
Now start at verse 19, Salaki.
Okay, this is the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter
No, Salaki. Watch this. We're going to read up on a little bit of that. Start at verse 15.
15.
To 14, Salaki.
14.
I hate when I do this, bro. It'd be a book so good, I just be like, damn, where do I start? Start at verse 14, King Salaki.
All right, come. It's the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 14.
Read.
For by the vainglory of men they enter into the world, and therefore shall they come shortly to an end.
So by the vain glory of men, idols entered into the world. Forms of idols. Men who were prideful, they wanted to be known for something. They said, you know what? I can take this right here and turn this into a god. And I got the manpower, the military, the money, and I can make all the people bow down and worship me. Watch this, read on.
For a father afflicted with untimely mourning,
Read.
when he had made an image of his child, soon taken away.
And we reading about a future prophecy of a man that, you know, some of y'all have grew to love so much. You'll give your life for him, read.
Now honored him as a god.
And not honor him as a what?
As a god.
As a god. Who is this talking about? He's talking about Caesar Borgia. Read.
Which was then a dead man, and delivered to those that were under him ceremonies and sacrifices.
Read on.
Thus in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law.
Because a gay lover took this man's picture and painted him as a god, right? And as that picture, they took this picture and said, you know what? We got fame, we got power. Let's take the true image, move that out the way to the back. Let's take this image. He looked more cuter, more softer, and got different diverse color of eyes. Let's move him to the forefront and let's make him a law. Read on.
And graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings.
And graven images were worshipped by who?
By the commandments of
By
kings.
people in power. Read on.
Whom men could not honor in presence because they dwelt far off. They took the counterfeit of his visage from far and made an express image of a king whom they honored.
And this is the same thing taking place today. A lot of people can't go get that original picture of where the idolatry started at in Babylon that came over here from the Roman Catholics, right? So what do? They go get one made. They go get a copy. Y'all go to the mall and go with the dusty Arabs and they give you that little fake gold brass Caesar Borgia that, you know what I'm saying, you wear it after 3 weeks, now your neck turning green, right? Read on.
To the end that by this their forwardness they might flatter him that was absent,
Read.
as if he were present. Also the singular diligence of the artificer did help to set forward the ignorant to more superstition.
Read. Now jump down to verse 20.
Verse 20. And so the multitude, allured by the grace of the work, took him now for a god.
Took him now for a god, read.
Which a little before was but honored as a man.
So this is the same thing that happened with Nimrod. There's nothing new under the sun. These certain people looked at how Nimrod was a mighty hunter on the world. He was the king of Babylon. He had many provinces, right? And he got deemed and worshipped as a god alongside his mother, aka his wife. And he was just honored as a man, but now they honor this man as a god. Read on. Which a little while before was honored as a man. Verse 21.
And this was an occasion to deceive the world.
So this was an occasion, and like it is today, this is an occasion. Idolatry is an occasion to deceive the world. Read on.
For men serving either calamity or tyranny did ascribe unto stones and stocks the incommunicable name.
And the incommunicable name. Word. Go ahead.
Moreover, this was not enough for them.
So it's not enough for you that you take your slaves and your servants and you make them worship your gods, because why? They in life or death situations. They don't have nothing else to do. Read on.
That they erred in the knowledge of God.
So this was not enough. Read. Watch this.
But whereas they lived in the great war of ignorance.
So they lived in a great war of ignorance. And this is what we're living in today. You have a great war of ignorance going on throughout the four corners of the earth. Because the same way the Israelites is breaking down and exposing all these lies and these fake gods and idols, Guess what? It's taken us to do what these people did in 400 plus years. So in this modern day time, we are still witnessing worship of Nimrod and his mother. But this occasion was not enough that the lower class of our people might do this, but what? Read on.
Those so great plagues called they peace.
Say what?
Those so great plagues called they peace.
So today, a great plague that's put up on our people, we last hire, first fire, diabetes run through the family, gout run through the family. You know what I'm saying? Majority of our neighborhoods is filled up with HIV, STD, chlamydia, gang violence is through the roof. You know what I'm saying? We live in the ghettos. We embrace the ghettos. You know what I'm saying? You hear people come from all sorts of the world. Oh, I'm from Memphis. I'm from Memphis, home of the killers. Well, I'm from New York, home of the hustlers. Well, I'm from Cali, home of the gangs. You know what I'm saying? Everything that's evil in this environment and society we living in, we calling those plagues peace. Read on.
Verse 23, for whistle they slew their children. For violence they slew their children in sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites.
And they made revelings of strange rites. So what is it going into? We almost done. We're going into the causes of us worshiping fake gods and fake idols. Now we're living our life in a society based off of things that we wasn't originally created to do. This is why God had to flood the earth. This is why after he flooded the earth and gave Noah's sons power and dominion and made a covenant with them, this is why he said, nah, you know what? I can't deal with all them. He had to choose one man, and through this man, you know what I'm saying, he had to have a chosen seed who he would make a covenant with. Because as you read, people do sick things behind closed doors. Read on.
Verse 24, they kept neither lives nor marriages, and longer undefiled.
Any longer
undefiled.
Read on.
But either one slew another treacherously or grieved him by adultery.
So what are we going? Read on.
So that there reigned in all men without.
So there reigned in all men who followed these religions and these idols what?
Without exception, blood.
Blood? Read.
Manslaughter.
What?
Theft.
Read.
And dissimulation.
So hold on. Read that verse again and read it right, King. So this is the product of the idols that we worship. So if you a Christian, you a Muslim, you a Kemet, you a 5%er, you a Moorish American, these are the root and the causes or the fruits that you reap when you serve these false gods. Read on.
So that there reigned in all men without exception.
Read.
Blood.
Read.
Manslaughter. Theft.
Read.
And dissimulation.
Read.
Corruption.
Read.
Unfaithfulness.
On what?
Unfaithfulness.
Read on.
Tumults.
Read.
Perjury.
Read.
Disquieting of good men.
Read.
Forgetfulness of good terms.
Read.
Defiling of souls.
How defiling of soul? You sleeping with animals and beasts and all these other different sorts of things. Read on.
Changing of kind.
You changing of kind. And by these other relations, oh, God is love. God's laws are done away with. God accepts you for who you are. Now you got Felicia looking like Lil Bow Wow and Lil Bow Wow looking like Felicia, right? You know what I'm saying? You got women taking certain pills and getting facial hair like men, jumping into a sport with men. You got men taking estrogen pills. Now they putting weave in their hair and they going to do certain things that women do, right? Read on.
Disorder in marriages.
And what?
Disorder in marriages.
And now they're starting to change, and with these religions, they put disorder in marriages, telling men, oh, that law is done away with. You're not the head of the house no more. The woman can be the head of the house. You don't have to be the one that lead the prayers no more. The women can lead the prayers now. Read on.
Adultery and shameless uncleanness.
And shameless what?
Uncleanness.
Why? Because now with these new religions, women can dress and do how they feel. Men can dress and do how they feel. You know what I'm saying? If a effeminate man wants to walk around dressed like a woman with makeup on and tight clothing, hey, if he want to fly, let him fly. These are the products and the roots of idolatry. Read.
For the worshiping of idols not to be named.
And this is what the characteristics of. So this is why when we come down, we're going to end it where we started at. Read verse 27 again.
For the worshiping of idols not to be named is the beginning.
Is the what?
Is the beginning.
Who was the beginning? Who was a part of the beginning? Nimrod and Semiramis. Read on.
The cause.
And they're the main cause in this day and time of this same idolatry and the customs of the spirit of worshiping them. Read.
And the end of all evil.
And the end of all evil. Through their spirit that's still spawning around the world. This is what the Most High coming back to kill today. Read.
For
either, that's it on there. So now we're going to end it with 1 John 5. Last verse. So Lord willing, there's plenty more idols that we got to touch on and show you through the course of the Bible how idolatry had a big key in the downfall of Israel. So we just gonna leave it at that. We stopping at Israel about to get ready to go and take over Canaan, and we're showing you how Canaan and the Egyptians worship the same identity, the same idols, which was Nimrod and Semiramis. So on your own term, if you want to go deep more into it, you will find out that all gods relate back to these two creeps. 1 John 5 came this way. Nimrod got this, man. I don't know where the book said. The other way. Go ahead. That brother gave up the spirit.
This is the book of 1 John chapter 5 and verse 21. Verse 20.
Go ahead.
Verse 20. And we know that the Son of God has come.
And we know what?
And we know that the Son of God has come.
No, start at verse 18.
Okay, 18. We know that whosoever is born of God sinneth not.
Read.
But he that is begotten of God keepeth himself.
But what do you keep yourself from? The idolatry that you see in the world, the characteristics of this wicked generation that we see that's partaking in idolatry,
And that wicked one toucheth him not.
And the wicked one toucheth him not, which is what the spiritual demon Satan, who has took this man and his mother and have made them the most famed idol worship or creation of false gods throughout the world today. Read on.
And we know that we are of God,
Read.
And the whole world lieth in wickedness.
And the whole world what?
Lieth in wickedness.
Read on.
And we know that the Son of God is come, and have given us an understanding.
And we know that the Son, Yahweh Shai, has come into the world, and he came and died for our sins, left us the Holy Comforter, which is the Holy Spirit of what? Understanding, knowing the truth, the laws, statutes, and commandments that we're supposed to be partaking in and keeping today, that what? Helps us understand that these gods are false and what's the root of them, where they come from, right? Read on.
That we may know him that is true.
Read.
And we are in him that is true.
Uh-huh.
Even in his Son, Jesus Christ.
And his Son, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach. Read.
This is the true God.
This is the what?
This is the true God.
Read on.
And eternal life.
And this is how we get eternal life. Now watch this. This is the message to the masses. Read on.
Little children.
Little what?
Little children.
Read.
Keep yourselves from idols. Amen.
Amen. Meaning what? So be it. So with that, we tell you, little children, the children of the Most High God, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. The Most High God tells you to keep yourselves from idols. You know what I'm saying? Learn what you are. Learn what God has for you, and repent and keep yourself from the idolatrous ways of America. So, with that, that's my time. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah, I just want to add this commentary.
Go.
Now, I don't need the mic.
I'll come.
It says, John's closing can seem rather abrupt. It is possible that he is offering a general warning against idolatry. However, John has spent virtually the whole letter discussing, in one form or another, the false teachers who are continuing to trouble the community. It is likely that idols is a reference to the false image of Jesus that these teachers are putting forth.
See that? And even at that time, you see what he just read. They letting you know that even at that time, John seen people caught up in idolatry. So that's why he had to end this with little children, keep yourselves from idols. So Lord willing, stay tuned. We most definitely gonna have a part 2 and a part 3. It might be from me. It might be from Chief. It might be from Hakai. It might be from Sapar. You will never know unless you stay tuned, man, and stay in the spirit. So with that, this is another Shabbat from the servants closing, which you all want to say, Kwam Yasharala. Stick around for these prayers. We about to pray and break bread. And Lord willing, we about to close the Shabbat. You know what I'm saying? Kwam Yasharala.
Conyers.